Some people call me the space cowboy. Yeah. Some call me the gangster of love. Some people call me Maurice.
What's going on out there, fellow Tightwads, fellow Cal Bears fans? Hope everybody's doing good out there on a Sunday evening in the East Bay. Smoke's finally cleared up. It's been hanging around here for the last week or so. And hope y'all are doing good despite, unfortunately, what our Cal Golden Bears football team did on the field last night. And also apologies, by the way, for the fact that this was a show that was supposed to take place 2 weeks ago, but hey, stuff came up, things got delayed, but hey, we're here at you, right now, getting ready to discuss not just weeks 1 through 4 of Cal football, but also going to get you caught up on what's been going on with Cal athletics since the first program began play in the fall athletic semester programs back on August the 6th. On that note, ladies and gentlemen, let's go ahead and get show number 34 of the Bear Raid presented by Tightwad Hill underway. Again, hope everyone's doing good out there tonight in Berkeley, the East Bay, the Greater Bay Area, and beyond that are tuning in for this edition of the show. It is the 30th and current sitting governor of the century-year-old pile of dirt that overlooks a century-year-old football stadium in Strawberry Canyon, the 30th and current sitting governor of Tightwad, Keith Salminen, coming at you solo for this edition of the Bear Raid as Donnie Knucklehead was originally scheduled to join me for this broadcast, but he was a last-minute cancellation today as he had some stuff come up on his end. I think Taddy had originally planned to come out here as well. Never really, set up things, to get him to where the studio is located. And, of course, as always, we're coming at you from Dub 6 Studios in the Diamond District. Got to make sure I don't forget that. I think I might have seen someone that looked and sounded like Taddy when I was out front watering stuff earlier. I'm not 100% sure, though, Tad, if that was you. My bad that we didn't fully coordinate on things. We'll make sure to address and correct that mishap this upcoming weekend, so that way you're on tap to be able to come over here for the next edition of the show, or if we got to pre-record stuff ahead of time. And, of course, Tito Soulchild still has some things he's handling on his end before we hear from him either here at the studio or up there on the hill when we record some stuff up there as the season goes on. I'm doing good. Hope you all are doing good. Again, apologies that things have been delayed here, as, of course, things got delayed with both this as well as our sister podcast, A's Fan Radio, over the course of the last couple weeks. Just, issues with sleeping problems right after the home opener went down, allergies going run amok as well, and also a few family-related matters coming up in that time. So that's what has unfortunately caused us to have to delay things up to this point in time. But hey, we're here, we're doing things tonight, and as I mentioned at the beginning of things here, it's a night where we're not only going to be covering what Cal football has been up to since the final year of the Pac-12 has gotten underway, but we'll also check in with what the other Cal athletic programs have been up to as well since the fall semester started, as the first of the Cal athletic programs, of course, began play all the way back on August 6th. So kind of really over a month's plus worth of stuff that will be covered from the fans' perspective here on tonight's edition of the show. So possibility it may be longer than it normally is. We always try to shoot for hour and a half to 2 hours, just like with our counterpart baseball podcast. Obviously, given the content and how long it's been in between shows, that can sometimes vary, and it could end up being longer than 2 hours. Maybe it ends up being shorter than that, depending on how things go with recapping some of the other sports later on in the show. Since last year, I know a lot of times the Cal Athletic Department forgot to put up recaps and outcomes for some of the sports programs over on the Cal Bears website. Hopefully someone out there heard my complaints about that and they've changed that in regards to things this year. I guess we're going to find out while we're doing things here with tonight's show. So again, a lot to talk about tonight, not just with Cal football, but the other Cal athletic programs that have started off things in the fall semester of 2023. Of course, the final year of the existence of the Pac-12, which of course means before we even get into all of the talk with what the athletic programs have been to as of late since last time we came at you. Last time we did a show, the future of where we were going to end up as far as our conference was still up in the air. So obviously, it's been a minute since the news dropped. Everyone pretty much knows about it at this point. But since we haven't done a show since the announcement was made, may as well go ahead and have it here so it's added for the record. And it is, of course, part of the context and history of this podcast. And is, of course, back on September the 1st, it was, of course, announced that the University of California will join the ACC starting with the 2024-2025 academic year. Of course, as it's been mentioned several times already and mentioned on the last show we did, this will be the final year of the Pac-12. As, of course, the whole process was initially started by USC and UCLA blocking expansion. Then they dipped out to the big whatever, as Taddy calls it, a.k.a. the Big Ten. Then, of course, over the summer here, after things looked ridiculous with what the proposed Pac-12 TV deal was going to be going forward, you had a whole bunch of other schools dip off to a whole bunch of other conferences. And it was down to a point where the once Pac-12 was the Pac-4, pretty much, which was consisting of us, Stanford, Oregon State, and Washington State. And, of course, that changed on September the 1st when it was announced that the University of California, along as well with Stanford and SMU, would be heading over to the ACC. And, of course, here's the news intel that came out back when this news all dropped on September the 1st. Chancellor Carol T. Christ announced on Friday, September the 1st, that the University of California, Berkeley will join the Athletic Coast Conference, a.k.a. the ACC, beginning with the 2024-2025 academic year. We are very pleased with the outcome, which will support the best interests of our student athletes and aligns with Berkeley's values, Christ said. We are confident the ACC and its constituent institutions are an excellent match for our university and will provide an elite competitive context for our student athletes in this changing landscape of intercollegiate athletics. I want to thank UC President Michael Drake, Director of Athletics Jim Knowlton, and ACC Commissioner Jim Phillips for the partnership, hard work, and leadership that made this agreement possible. The decision comes against the backdrop of significant conference realignment across the country in recent years and was made after an extensive exploration of options and in the wake of hard work and diligent negotiations in recent weeks. Throughout, campus leadership prioritized the needs of the student athletes and what would be required to secure Cal Athletics' long-term stability while preserving the program's stature and the essential role it plays on the Berkeley campus. Longtime Pac-12 rival and neighbor Stanford University also announced on that Friday, September the 1st, that it will be joining the ACC next summer, as did Southern Methodist University, a.k.a. SMU, bringing the conference members' institutions to a total of 18. UC Berkeley's values, let me start over with that paragraph there again. UC Berkeley values the ACC's extensive championship culture. The conference sponsors competition at the highest levels of 28 sports. Cal Athletics has teams in 24 of them. Cal, of course, has won 103 national championships in its history. No conference has won more NCAA championships over the last 2 years than the ACC. We made this decision in the best interest of our student athletes, the university, and our extended Cal community of alumni and supporters, said Christ. We look forward to cheering on the Golden Bears in their new conference home, just as we look forward to many more years of competing for the Stanford Axe. UC Berkeley, which consistently ranked as one of the top universities in the world, will be joining a conference that features schools with excellent academic reputations. The most recent U.S. News and World Report rankings of best colleges recognizes the ACC as the leader among Power 5 conferences for the 16th consecutive year. With the addition of Cal and Stanford, the SEC now features 9 institutions that are members of the prestigious Association of American Universities. We are excited that our student athletes will continue to have the opportunity to compete against like-minded schools that prioritize academics and athletics, said Cal Athletic Director Jim Knowlton. When you look at the quality of the institutions in the ACC, this is an incredible fit. Our student athletes will continue to compete at the highest level while getting a degree from one of the world's best universities. UC Berkeley will join the ACC as a full member in August of 2024. The university will receive a full share of all revenues, including media revenue, while contributing back a portion of its media revenue to support and strengthen the conference and its current member institutions. UC Berkeley's membership contribution will taper off until the 10th year, at which point it will begin retaining 100% of its media revenue share. The fact that annual revenue will increase over time was an important factor in the agreement. UC Berkeley will also receive a full share of other conference payouts that comes from the college football playoff, NCAA basketball distribution, bowl games, and more. I'd like to thank Chancellor Christ, President Drake, and an unheralded but essential group of advisors and advocates who were in the trenches with us as we fought for the future of Cal athletics, Knowlton said. I'd also like to thank ACC Commissioner Jim Phillips, who was indefatigable throughout this process. Oh, man, I got to work on reading some of these bloody words better. I really look forward to partnering with him as a member of the ACC. I am confident this agreement will serve and support the best interests of our amazing student athletes, coaches, and staff who will make us proud every single day. With membership in the ACC will result in some, let me start over with that final paragraph one more time. While membership in the ACC will result in some increased travel for student athletes and staff, it is projected that 19 of Cal's 30 sports will experience either no or minimal change with regards to traveling to the East. UC Berkeley will also explore measures to minimize the effect additional travel could have on the remaining student athletes. So, obviously, heading into this announcement on September the 1st, there was a lot of questions, concerns, and obviously some complaints out there from fans, alumni, current students over there about this whole setup. It was pretty much, either side of the fence when it came to this situation. You had people out there that fully embraced this, were in favor of it, especially with the way everything played out with how the Pac-12 basically imploded on itself. You, of course, have many out there that were very hard against it and are still hard against it, even though it's pretty much an official setup at this point. They would have rather have seen somehow, some way the Pac-12 be brought back with other universities tied into the mix, or maybe combining with the Mountain West Conference or something like that, which I honestly really don't see working. And even if it did work, and I kind of really felt like, and that would be a downgrade, compared to the prestige and history that the Pac-12 and the Pac-10 and the Pac such and such, all the way back to the Pac-8, and if there was anything before that, literally a century worth of history destroyed over that. And I can see things from both sides of the fence with this situation. I'm an individual myself who's, still, even now, almost, approaching a month after all this has been said and done, is, still kind of not fully sold on things. Especially the fact, Atlantic Coast Conference, and we play on the West Coast. Maybe it's time to change the name to the All Coast Conference, or the All Cal Conference, as some Cal fans have jokingly said. There's obviously concerns I have and issues that I do have, but at the same time, especially with just the way this realignment stuff's been playing out the last couple years, it was pretty much either jump at the best opportunity that you had at this point, or suffer the risk of your athletic programs dying. Again, some out there kind of felt like that something should have been done to create a whole new Pac-12 or a Pac something combined with the Mountain West Conference, or hold out for the Big Ten or the Big 12, or one of those other conferences out there. But you had to take this as it is right now and just put yourself in a position so that way 5-10 years down the road from now, when all the whole bunch of realignment shuffling most likely happens again, you're hopefully in a better position at that point to make a jump at something at that point in time. And I mentioned it on the last edition of the Bear Raid, and brought it up on the Bear Raid segment over on A's Fan Radio as well, something that I agree with my co-host counterpart on A's Fan Radio, the Boss Man, is that within the next 5 years to a decade, you may not even have conferences in college football anymore, because my boy Boss, he talks to cats out there that are in the know, that follow stuff with this, and that's just one of the many things he's heard out there, and that's something I definitely end up seeing as a possibility, outside of also realignment happening again. So, yeah, I fully understand and get many of you out there are not fully sold on this, are not sold on it at all, and may not ever be sold to it. But again, it is what it is. Going to have to just take it, accept it. It was either this or Cal Athletics was going to end up dying, in mine and many others' opinions. So embrace it, look forward to it, and just get set to enjoy what will be the final fall and spring in the Pac-12 as a result of things that have played out with that. So, yep, final year of the Pac-12, of course, and starting next year, 2024-2025 academic year, the University of California will, of course, be joining the ACC. And real quickly, just for those of you out there that want an idea of some of the future opposition our California Golden Bears will be facing on a regular basis starting in 2024-2025 the other schools that are in the ACC, aside from obviously the newbies in Cal, Stanford, and SMU, are, of course, Boston College, Clemson, Duke, Florida State, Georgia Tech, Louisville, Miami, North Carolina State. Notre Dame technically is a member of the ACC, with the exception of in football, they're an independent, and their hockey program, I guess, is part of the Big Ten apparently, but all their other athletic programs are a part of the ACC. You have Pittsburgh, Syracuse, Virginia Tech, and rounding out things is Wake Forest. So, hey, there's a taste of who we have. Look forward to facing alongside, of course, SMU. And obviously the big thing that many of us wanted that we got, regardless of what happened with this whole situation, was that the rivalry between Cal and Stanford was kept in place. So I guess that's one positive, that at least that ends up continuing at this point in time. So, hey, 2024-2025 will be the first year for the University of California in the Atlantic Coast Conference. That's what I'm saying. All Coast Conference would make more sense at this point now that you got two teams on the West Coast and a team in smack dab in the middle of the country over there in the Lone Star State. All righty, let's go ahead and get into the first of the Cal athletic programs that we'll be discussing on this 34th edition of the Bear Raid presented by Tightwad Hill. And it's, of course, the sport that is the namesake of the show and was the prime fuel to the fire of creating this show, before we obviously also considered the idea of talking about the other Cal athletic programs, as we, of course, take a look at what Cal football has been up to since the season basically began. Because when we last came at you, it was before the season had even gotten underway. You want to say, was it August 27th was when we did our first show? And even though there had been a couple programs that had started off at that point, Donnie and I decided to just make it be a football-focused talk show and talk about, obviously, what the situation was with the future of Cal athletics. So we'll go ahead now. We'll take a look at what went down with Cal athletics from week 1 through week 4. And, of course, take a look at what the Golden Bears will have on tap as far as game action between now and the next time we come at you here on the Bear Raid. We go all the way back to when the season began for your University of California Golden Bears. They, of course, kicked off the 2023 NCAA football season on the road with a road trip to DATCU Stadium in Denton, Texas, to take on the North Texas Mean Green. Pretty much ended up being a blowout in favor of your University of California Golden Bears. And, of course, maybe it could have been a little bit bigger than that. But for the first time since the last time Jake Spivetail, hashtag Hogs for Spaves, was our offensive coordinator, which was all the way back in 2016 during the unfortunately disastrous Sonny Dike era of Cal football. Cal would go on to defeat North Texas in their season opener on the road by a final score of 58-21. Starter Sam Jackson V unfortunately got hurt early in that contest, and it's kind of affected things with as far as how things are getting set up with him being used since then. I'll obviously share my thoughts on that as we get further along here with discussing the last couple weeks of Cal football. But Cal Bears, hashtag drop 50 to begin their 2023 season. Blowout fashion, W over the North Texas Mean Green, final score of 58-21. Definitely proud and happy that this squad got the season off with a W, especially happy that it was a victory in blowout fashion. Obviously, bigger challenges still to come. It's early in the season. It's the first of your 3 non-conference games to begin the year before you kick off conference play, and again, what will be the final year of the current conference that Cal and the current Pac-12 teams are made up in. But even though you're going in there and it's an opponent that you're pretty much expected to do something like this, it's been damn near almost a decade, 8 years to be exact, since last time a California offense put 50-plus up on the board. Be nice to see this kind of be a little bit more the regular as the year goes on. But again, that's obviously going to hinge on the health of the players and the plays that these guys are able to make. the rest of the way out. But hey, good start to the year. 58-21 Cal over North Texas to begin things back on September the 21st, September the 2nd, excuse me. That means, of course, a little over a week later, Cal would play their first home game of the 2023 season against an SEC opponent in the University of Auburn Tigers. First game of the year at California Memorial Stadium, and of course also at Tightwad Hill as well, as both Memorial Stadium and the Hill are celebrating their 100th anniversary season. And oh yeah, it was a gold out, by the way, inside of the stadium, and we did the best we could to obviously make sure anyone that got the word that was coming up to Tightwad wore gold up there. I did, several others did as well. The contest on September the 9th to play out in what was the home opener ended up being pretty much a defensive stalemate for the majority of the contest. Obviously, there was a play very early on, literally the opening seconds, damn near of the game, where Cal caused a fumble on the Auburn offense and looked like they had ran it back for a touchdown. Play ended up being blown dead. Cal kept possession and all that. And there were other instances as well where there was some questionable calls and whatnot during the course of the game. Reality, though, is it was a defensive stalemate, and when it came down to things at the end of the day, there were also opportunities that, unfortunately, Cal was not able to capitalize on. One of those being, of course, several missed field goals during the course of the game, which obviously you make two of those field goals at least, you end up with a 2-point victory on September the 9th instead of losing by 4 points, as when it was all said and done and the final gun went off in Strawberry Canyon on a Saturday night early in September, the University of California Golden Bears would take their first loss of the year against Auburn in a defensive stalemate, losing by a final score of 14-4. Game where obviously you had Fieldley start off as the QB during the first half, and then Sam Jackson V was brought in later on. Again, just a game where pretty much both teams' defenses stifled each other, and just unfortunately Cal was not able to capitalize on opportunities they had, and that's why you ended up losing by 4 instead of the possibility of, hey, at least winning by 2. Hey, you could have won by 5 if you would hit all 3 of those field goals that you ended up missing during that contest. Little over a week after that, Week 3 action would see the University of California Golden Bears stay in Strawberry Canyon, as they would, of course, play out their final non-conference game of the 2023 season, as they would host the Idaho Vandals for the Hometown Heroes Scout Day at California Memorial Stadium. And, of course, you also would have the Cal Alumni Band on hand for this one. A game that initially kind of started out a little bit ugly for the California Golden Bears. And by ugly, I mean about a quarter and a halfway into this one, basically halfway into the second quarter, Cal was down 17-0 against Idaho. They finally started to get on the board, and by the time halftime rolled up, they were within 1, as of course things went into the half with Idaho up 17 to 16 at that point. Ultimately, though, when everything was all said and done, after going down 17-0, Cal would go on to score 31 unanswered points to end up getting a victory against the Idaho Vandals, as they would, of course, win at Memorial Stadium on September the 16th by a final score of 31-17. Now, I'm going to be real with y'all. Yeah, I'm happy that we got the victory in this one, but with that being said, really, you let these guys go up on you 17-0 for nearly the first quarter and a half of the contest. Would have been nice to have seen some, points early in the game, and have, not seen stuff like this happen. You're very lucky that, as a result of going into that 17-0 hole, you were able to actually come back and win, because more often than not, you get down in a hole like that, you more often than not are going to be dead the rest of the way out, which is kind of what unfortunately happened with the game yesterday that we'll be getting here to recapping in a bit. But yeah, ultimately I'm glad we got the victory in this one, but that doesn't change the fact that I'm extremely frustrated with how the contest opened when this one started back on the 16th. And unfortunately for the Golden Bears, the same circumstances would play out again last night up in the Pacific Northwest in the 206 area code. But unfortunately, Cal would not be able to rebound back in that contest against the then-ranked 8th Washington Huskies, as Cal just got stomped on early in this one. Had a punt return taken back against him for a touchdown, gave up a pick that ultimately led to a score, and we're just getting mollywopped. 45-12, I believe, is what the score was when the half came along up there in the 206. But the offense kind of finally woke up a little bit in the second half of the game, but it was too little too late at that point in time, as Cal would end up falling to an even 500 on the season and lose to the 8th-ranked Huskies by a final score of 59-32 last night at Husky Stadium up in Seattle. So pretty sure my homeboy Dre 206 is happy about that outcome. Myself and other Cal fans, not so much the case. Very annoyed with that, because you repeated basically kind of the same issues you had in the Idaho game. I mean, yeah, you actually did score a touchdown at one point after these guys scored on you, but just, again, stuff like this is what has led to a lot of these seasons the last couple of years under not just Wilcox, but even going back to Sonny Dykes, where you end up the losses piling up real quickly. And it's at a point now where here we are 4 games into the season, and you already have Cal fans, students, alumni calling for Wilcox to be fired at this point. I'm not ready to throw my hat into the ring quite yet on that scenario, but I'm not going to criticize or jump down the throats of y'all out there that feel that way, and I've understand that the last couple of years. But obviously, a lot of us up on Tightwad Hill have agreed that if that trend does continue, like how things have been the last several years as this season goes on, that a lot of us will be jumping on that bandwagon at that point. So, but at this point in time, that's not going to be the case for me. I still think it's early enough where we can turn things around, but you got to do that sooner rather than later. Otherwise, you're going to have multiple contests like this playing out. This was a team that last year, these teams played to basically a 14-14 tie partway to the fourth quarter of their contest. I mean, it's great to still see that the Cal defense is causing turnovers and takeaways. As of last night, we're actually leading the country in turnovers and takeaways across the entire NCAA. But, still, even that was not enough to ultimately overcome what ended up being a 59-32 loss for your University of California Golden Bears when it was all said and done. At this point in time right now, the University of California is 2-2 overall. They're 0-1 in conference play. We'll go ahead and wait until the next edition of the show to start seeing how things with the Pac-12 standings are shaping up. But 2-2 overall, 0-1 in Pac-12 play, the final season, by the way, of the Pac-12. Let's see here. 1-game losing streak at this point in time. They're 1-1 so far this year at California Memorial Stadium, and on the road in 2023 so far, they have a 500 record as well of 1-1. Upcoming games for the University of California Golden Bears between now and the next time we come at you here on the Bear Raid. 2 games will go down between now and show number 35. Is, of course, next Saturday, September the 30th, the Arizona State Sun Devils will come into Strawberry Canyon for a high noon kickoff at California Memorial Stadium at what will be Latino Heritage Day / Barrier Appreciation Day. Again, ASU California Memorial Stadium, 12 p.m. Pacific Standard Time kickoff for that contest. The game, of course, will be televised on the Pac-12 network, and for those of you out there that are planning on making your way up the Tightwad Hill to watch this contest, we'll be getting our pregame tailgate festivities and shenanigans up at the Tightwad Hill 50 Club at 10 a.m. in the morning for that one. Again, that's September the 30th, ASU versus Cal, kickoff at 12 p.m. Those of you that want to come up to Tightwad Hill early on before the game, we'll be beginning our tailgate at 12 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Following that, of course, will be a game on October the 7th, which of course will be the homecoming game for your University of California Golden Bears, as they will host the Oregon State Beavers in a contest that has yet to have a start time announced for it. So just keep your eyes and ears open for that. Again, homecoming against Oregon State on October the 7th. Kickoff has yet to be announced for that one. It's also Parents Weekend and Education Day over there at California Memorial Stadium. Keep your eyes and ears open to the Cal Bears website or the Cal social media pages for when things are announced with that. And, of course, when the start time for that game on October the 7th is announced, we will also make sure to get word about that out on our social media pages as well. So again, upcoming games for Cal football, September the 30th against Arizona at 12 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, with the pregame tailgate at the Tightwad 50 Club beginning at 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time on that September the 30th game. And of course, also on October the 7th, Oregon State will come into town. Start time for that game is to be announced. And man, again, final year of the Pac-12 about to go down here, not just Berkeley, but all the other institutions that currently make up the Pac-12 at this point in time. All righty, let's go ahead and take our first break of the night here on show number 34 of the Bear Raid presented by Tightwad Hill. We come back, we'll go ahead and begin taking a look at the other athletic programs that are going down here currently in the fall semester at the University of California, as we will check in on what's been going on with Cal women's soccer, Cal men's soccer, Cal field hockey, Cal volleyball, and of course a whole lot more to come your way before this night is over with. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back at you here in a bit on show number 34 of the Bear Raid presented by Tightwad Hill. Welcome back, fellow Tightwads, fellow Cal fans, wherever y'all may be tuning in on this Sunday evening, as show number 34 of the Bear Raid presented by Tightwad Hill continues to roll on down the internet radio / podcast airwaves. It is, of course, the 30th and current sitting governor of Tightwad Hill, Keith Salminen, coming at you solo for this edition from Dub 6 Studios, located in the Diamond District of Oakland, California, broadcasting HQ, of course, for both the Bear Raid and our sister podcast, A's Fan Radio. Donnie Knucklehead Hudson was an unfortunate last-minute cancellation from joining us here on today's edition of the show. Otherwise, had he been here, we would have done this, of course, at 2 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Tad was supposed to swing through, never kind of really set up things with him finalized. Think I might have seen him wandering around here earlier. Not 100% sure. So, again, Taddy, if that was you, my bad. I was kind of a little half awake, half asleep, watering the garden after doing some medical research and all that stuff. And probably going to be a hot minute until we see or hear Tito here on the show. We'll probably hear from him when he finally pops up on the hill at some point before the year is over with. So, yep, just Misa coming at you here for this 34th edition of TBR, where, of course, we just got done talking about what Cal football has been up to since the season got underway, the sports program that the original focus of this podcast was, of course, directed at when Taddy kicked the idea around with me back in the late 2000s, early 2010s about doing a Cal podcast like this, with the idea, of course, stemming from the work I had been doing with A's Fan Radio. And then myself, Donnie, Taddy, finally got things underway with this back in November 2020. Tito, who, of course, is also one of the co-hosts over on A's Fan Radio, joining the show as well. And here we are now doing things in the fall of 2023, year 3, almost 4. Gonna have to check the math on that. Show that started, of course, back in 2020. Definitely has some time to go before it catches up with A's Fan Radio, which, of course, is entering its 20th season. But our podcast, of course, is part of that lineage and legacy that has been created by A's Fan Radio, and we will definitely do our part to continue that legacy here. Should the Athletics end up being allowed to relocate to Las Vegas, which is a bunch of BS, then at that point, A's Fan Radio will no longer exist because we'll have no reason to support the A's out there. But let me not get sidetracked for all that, of course, as always, to hear me rant and rave about the A's. You know where to tune in on that. Let's go ahead and focus back onto things on what we normally talk about here in the show, which, of course, is Cal Athletics. Again, just got done talking about things with Cal football. We're now going to get into the portion of the show where we take a look at the other athletic programs that have begun their shindigs here in the fall semester at the University of California. As we've mentioned before, and I'll make sure to reiterate this again, there's times I do forget to mention this on the show until damn near the end of the podcast because I won't remember to say it until the end of the show. But if there's any of you out there that are either fans or even alumni that participated in some of these other sports that we cover here on the show, and you feel you can do a lot better job of covering them than myself, Donnie, Taddy, and or Tito, then feel free to hit us up, man. We'd down to have you send us a soundbite and have you better describe some of these other sports because, still trying to get used to doing some of these things, and obviously we'll have a lot more time on my hands to familiarize myself with some of these sports should the sister podcast end up coming to an end, which all, again, hinges on the future of the local baseball team in the land of Oaks. The first of the Cal athletic programs that actually got underway to begin the fall semester at the University of California was the Cal women's soccer program. Their action started up all the way back on August the 6th. A Sunday, the first Sunday of August. Exhibition game against UC Davis. No score up there for that contest. I guess they figured with it being a game that didn't count, there was no point of putting up a final score. So Cal women's soccer's first official contest actually was on August the 17th, which was a Thursday. They began the year on the road at Knoxville, Tennessee, taking on the University of Tennessee. Cal women's soccer, unfortunately, dropping their first game of the year to Tennessee by a final score of 4-1. They would stay in the loss column and unfortunately suffer back-to-back losses as they would continue their road trip, taking on then number 2 North Carolina at Chapel Hill, North Carolina. So, hey, kind of an early ACC preview right there between two schools that will be facing each other on a more regular basis in their respective athletic programs starting next year. Cal losing to their future conference opponent on August the 20th by a final score of 3-1. The Cal women's soccer team would finally get into the win column to close out the month of August as they would take on the University of San Francisco at Edwards Stadium in Berkeley, California. They would only allow USF to get one goal during that contest as they would down the USF Dons in that contest by a final score of 5-1. They would keep the winning ways going following a September 3rd matchup that was take place in Berkeley as well, taking on Cal Poly as they would shut out Cal Poly in that September the 3rd contest by a final score of 2-0. Following that, they would take on Santa Clara on September the 7th, third consecutive game for Cal women's soccer at Edwards Stadium in Berkeley, California. They wouldn't end up with a loss in this one, but they wouldn't pick up a win either, as Cal and Santa Clara would play each other to a 0-0 draw before it was all said and done on the 7th of September. Following that, Cal would take a loss finally for the first time in 3 games as they would fall 1-0 to Cal State Fullerton in a matchup at Edwards Stadium in Berkeley on Sunday, September the 7th. They would play to a 1-1 tie in Berkeley. Man, a lot of games at Edwards Stadium early in the season here for Cal women's soccer. 1-1 tie on September the 15th in Berkeley against Utah Valley. They would then pick up a 2-1 win on the road in San Diego against San Diego at Toro Stadium. And, of course, their most recent contest was the same day that Cal football was taking on Washington football. Cal women's soccer battling out in the 206 as well against Washington women's soccer. And unlike the football counterpart, at least the Lady Golden Bears picked up a W in the 206 yesterday as Cal women's soccer beat Washington yesterday by a final score of 1-0. Upcoming contests for Cal women's soccer between now and the next edition of the Bear Raid, which, oh, by the way, it was originally scheduled for Sunday, October the 8th. I have had to shift that to Monday, October the 9th because I completely forgot Fleet Week is going on that weekend. And I'll be over in San Francisco watching the last day of the air show in regards to that. I plan on being at the Cal game, though, against Oregon State on the 7th. But, yeah, next edition of the Bear Raid, show number 35, is being shifted from 10-8 to 10-9 as a result of Fleet Week going down. So here's what will be going down for Cal for Cal women's soccer between now and October the 9th. Next contest for them, of course, is 4 days from now on Thursday, September the 28th, 3 p.m. match start time at Edwards Stadium in Berkeley. They'll be hosting the University of Arizona. They will stay in Berkeley over the weekend, as well as they will host the Arizona State Sun Devils on October the 1st in a 1 p.m. start for their match at Edwards Stadium in Berkeley. They will head out on the road on October the 5th to take on the University of Utah at Ute Soccer Field in Salt Lake City, Utah. That matchup on the road will begin at 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. They will continue that road trip, of course, to the day before the next edition of the show, where they will take on Colorado women's soccer in Boulder, Colorado, in a 1 p.m. match start on Sunday, October the 8th. Currently, at this point in time, Cal women's soccer is 4-3-2 overall. They're 1-0 so far in Pac-12 play. They're on a two-win match streak at this point in time. So far in the early going, they're 2-1-2 at Edwards Stadium, and away from Edwards Stadium so far, they are 2-2 early here in the 2023 season. We're going to go ahead and stay on the soccer pitch for this next one, but of course shift it over to the men's side of things, as we will go ahead and take a look at what the Cal men's soccer program has been doing since their year began. And of course, we will check on what they have on tap as well between now and October the 9th. They began their season, of course, with 2 exhibition games. The Cal women's soccer program had 1 exhibition game. The men's program had 2 exhibition games, and don't know why they actually posted the scores for the men's exhibition games. Why post the women's exhibition scores? CalBears.com. Oh boy, I hope that ain't a sign of things to come with looking at some of these box scores and recaps with some of the other programs. Anyway, first exhibition game of the year for Cal men's soccer was on August the 13th at Edwards Stadium. They hosted Santa Clara, lost that exhibition contest by a final of 2-1. They would win their second and final exhibition tune-up, though, against St. Mary's on August the 19th. That contest, of course, taking place on the road at St. Mary's Stadium in Moraga, California, as Cal would defeat St. Mary's in that one by a final score of 4-1. Their first official game of the 2023 season, of course, was on August the 24th, all the way over in Greensboro, North Carolina, as they took on UNCG in a contest where both sides played each other to a 1-1 draw. It would end up being another 1-1 draw on August the 27th, as, hey, preview of the ACC future again, folks, as Cal men's soccer played to a 1-1 draw with Wake Forest over in Winston-Salem, North Carolina. Again, some of these programs are going to get a taste of future opponent matchups as far as our future conferences go. So future conference opponents playing each other to a 1-1 draw back on Sunday, August 27th. First win of the year for Cal men's soccer would come on September the 1st against Fairleigh Dickinson. 3-0 win for the Bears in their home opener at not at California Memorial Stadium, at Edwards Stadium over in Berkeley, California. Not too far from where Cal football once played, because I want to say one of their first stadiums was over there where the Life Science Building is right now. And that's kind of not too far from where Edwards Stadium and the baseball field is and all that. But yeah, Edwards Stadium, not Memorial Stadium, is where the soccer teams play at. But again, first win of the year, home opener W for the Bears, 3-0 over Fairleigh Dickinson on September the 1st. Dartmouth would come in to Berkeley on September the 4th, and they would also get shut out by Cal, as the Golden Bears would win that match at Edwards Stadium on the 4th of September by a final score of 4-0. Winning ways would continue for the University of California, as they would head down to Riverside to take on California Baptist University and defeat them on the road by a final score of 2-1. They would finally take an L, though, across the bay in San Francisco, as USF would shut them out in a match that would see Cal fall by a final of 3-0. They then would take on Oregon State in Berkeley on September the 14th in a contest that ended up being a 2-2 draw in the Pac-12 opener for these two teams. Following that, they, of course, would play in Berkeley against Washington on September the 17th and would fall to the Huskies in that contest at Edwards Stadium by a final score of 1-0. Upcoming contests for Cal men's soccer between now and October the 9th are as follows. They will be out on the road 4 days from now on September the 28th as they will take on the San Diego State Aztecs at SDSU Sports Park in San Diego, California. That match will start at 7:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. October the 1st, we'll see them at Wales-Annenberg Stadium in Los Angeles as they will take on the UCLA Bruins, a.k.a. the UCLA Dickless Bears, in a 2 p.m. match to begin the month of October on Sunday the 1st. And that, of course, will be the most recent matchup that will go down for Cal men's soccer between now and March the 9th. Or, excuse March the 9th, October the 9th. God, here I go getting my months and stuff mixed up now at this point in time. So far in the early going of the 2023 Cal men's soccer season, they are 3-2-3 overall. They are 0-1-1 thus far in the early going with conference play. They are currently on a one-match loss streak at this point in time. They're 2-1-1 at Edwards Stadium early here in the season, and they're 1-1-2 away from Edwards Stadium so far in 2023. Let's go ahead and shift sports programs at this point in time, as we're going to go ahead and take a look at what Cal Field Hockey has been up to in their early goings as well. In case if you weren't paying attention, I missed out things again. We're covering what all the Cal athletic programs have been up to start off things, because the previous Bear Raid, we really just touched bases on the future of the Cal athletic program, because at that point in time on August 27th, we didn't know where we were heading as far as conference realignment. There had been rumbles that it was possibly going to be the ACC, but it wasn't official at that point in time. So that show, we only talked about that and previewed Cal football. So we're pretty much covering what all the athletic programs have started and done so far here in the beginning of the 2023 season. And here's what Cal Field Hockey has been up to so far in 2023. Exhibition match for them to begin the year on August 13th against British Columbia at Varsity Field Hockey Turf at Stanford, California. They don't even have a score up here for that exhibition contest. It's all good. Their first official match going down on Sunday, August the 20th against the Olympic Club, as Cal Field Hockey would begin the year with a W at Underhill Field in Berkeley, winning that match by a final of 3-1. They would take their first loss of the year against Miami, Ohio on August 25th at a contest that would be played in Berkeley as well, losing that match at Underhill Field by a final score of 2-1. They would pretty much ride a three-match losing streak, starting with that match on the 25th. They would fall 4-1 against number 3 Maryland in Berkeley on August 27th, and the third of those three consecutive losses would be against number 16 Rutgers on August 28th, as they would fall in that contest at Underhill Field in Berkeley by a final score of 2-1. September the 1st, though, would see them get back onto the winning side of things, and matches that so far up to this point all in time have all taken place at Underhill Field in Berkeley, taking on 5th-ranked Penn State, and Cal Field Hockey would defeat 5th-ranked Penn State in that match on September the 1st at Underhill Field by a final score of 3-2. They would stay on those winning ways when they would face off against LIU in a road match at Hofstra Field Hockey Stadium in Hempstead, New York. 2-1 W for Cal Field Hockey in that match. They would then blow out Stonehill on September the 9th in Hempstead, New York, winning that match by a final score of 9-1. They would then play in a match that would go into overtime against Albany in Albany, New York, but unfortunately would lose that match in overtime by a final of 2-1. They would drop another overtime match following that contest, as they would fall 4-3, in overtime against Vermont back on September the 24th in a road match in Burlington, Vermont. Upcoming matches for Cal Field Hockey between now and October the 9th. They will take on Stanford in back-to-back matches. The first of those two matches will be in Berkeley at Underhill Field on September the 29th, which is a Friday, of course. That will be at 4 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. The second of those matches against back-to-back matches against Stanford will go down at Stanford on October the 1st at 12 p.m. Pacific Standard Time at Varsity Field Hockey Turf at Stanford, California. Following Following that, of course, they will have a matchup at over against UMass Lowell at Wicked Blue Field in Lowell, Massachusetts at 12 p.m. on October the 6th, which is a Friday. And the day before the next edition of the Bear Raid, they will face off against Bryant in Smithfield, Rhode Island, bright and early at 9 o'clock in the morning on October the 8th. Cal Field Hockey currently has an overall record of 3-5. They are 0-2 so far in conference play. 2-match loss streak at this current point in time. They're 1-3 so far at Underhill Field this season, and away from Underhill Field so far in 2023, they have a record of 0-2. Last sport that we're going to take a check on here right now, it's not, of course, the last sport that we're going to be doing here on the Bear Raid, but it'll be the last sport that we'll be doing on this segment before we take our next break of the night. We're going to check in on what Cal Volleyball has been up to so far here in 2023. Just like with the other programs we've discussed so far, with the exception, of course, being Cal Football, they began things with an exhibition game on August the 19th, which was a Saturday. 3-0 exhibition win at the Haas Pavilion over the University of San Francisco, with their official season getting underway at the Army Invitational, which, of course, was played at the Gillis Fieldhouse at West Point, New York. First game that they partook in that tournament was on August the 25th. They would beat Army 3-0 in that match. They would beat Fairfield 3-1 on August the 26th, and then to round out things in that Army tournament, let me make sure that the Army Invitational Tournament, they would beat Fairfield by a final score of 3-1 on Saturday, August 26th. Again, so they had two matches on August 26th. 3-0 Central Connecticut State, getting things mixed up there. So 3 wins to start off things in the early going. September the 1st would see Cal Volleyball come back to the Haas Pavilion and host Portland State, who they would, of course, beat by a final score of 3-1. That would be the same case for when Southern Utah came into the Haas Pavilion a day later on September the 2nd. Berkeley would shut them out by a final score of 3-1. September the 6th would see another win at the Haas Pavilion for Cal Volleyball as they would defeat St. Mary's on September the 6th by a final score of 3-1. They would then partake in the Bobcat Classic at the Stranahan Arena at the University Events Center in San Marcos, Texas. They would begin the Bobcat Classic taking on Southern Louisiana on September the 8th. They would defeat them by a final of 3-1. They would take on Texas State as well on September the 8th and beat them by a final of 3-1. Final match for them would be on September the 9th against Albanine Christian, and Cal Volleyball would win that match as well by a final score of 3-0. Winning ways just continue on here and into the Wolfpack Invitational, which ran from the 15th through the 16th. Montana State would fall victim to Cal in that matchup on the 15th of 3-0, and the University of Nevada would also lose to Cal Volleyball in that tournament as well on September the 16th by a final of 3-1. September the 19th is when Cal Volleyball would finally suffer its first loss of the 2023 season, and it would unfortunately come from a Cross Bay rival, as the University of Stanford would shut out Cal Volleyball at the Haas Pavilion on September the 19th by a final of 3-0, and unfortunately would lead to what would be back-to-back losses up to this point in time for Cal Volleyball, as their most recent match that went down on September the 24th, which was last Sunday, ended up being a loss as well, as they fell 3-2 to Utah in Salt Lake City. Here are the upcoming matchups for Cal Volleyball between now and October the 9th. September the 29th, which is this upcoming Friday, we'll see Cal take on Arizona at the Haas Pavilion in Berkeley. 7 p.m. start for that volleyball matchup. They will stay in Berkeley over the weekend and host the Arizona State Sun Devils in a 12 p.m. matchup at the Haas on Sunday, October the 1st. October the 6th, we'll see them head up to Pullman, Washington for a 7 p.m. matchup against the Washington State Cougars. And, of course, the day before the next edition of the Bear Raid, we'll see Cal Volleyball head head up to the 206 to take on the Washington Huskies in Seattle, Washington. Cal Volleyball currently is 11-2 so far this year. They're 0-2 thus far in conference play. 2-loss match streak at this point in time. They're 3-1 at the Haas Pavilion so far. They're 3-1 away from the Haas, and they're 5-0 so far in neutral site matches in 2023. All righty, let's go ahead and take our next break of the night here on this edition of the Bear Raid presented by Tightwad Hill. We come back, we'll check in on what has gone down so far with cross country, men's water polo, men's golf, and women's golf. And, of course, we'll also see what those 4 programs have on tap as well between now and October the 10th, or October the 9th. Man, I can't even get my dates correct at this point in time. Oh, man, it's always a fun time when I get data info screwed up here on the show. Anyway, we'll be right back at you here in a bit on show number 34 of the Bear Raid, presented by Tightwad Hill. This is the Governator, and you're listening to a show that is hosted by 2 Governators of a pile of dirt and 2 of the best cattle fans out there on that pile of dirt. You, of course, are tuned into the Bear Raid, presented by Tightwad Hill. Naratuma. Well, man, there's a voice that has not popped in on here, and it's a voice that hasn't popped in on our sister podcast in a while. The Governator making his first ever pop in on the Bear Raid. Wonder if he'll drop in on A's Fan Radio again at some point in time. Welcome back, fellow Cal fans, fellow Tightwads. It is, of course, show number 34 of the Bear Raid presented by Tightwad Hill, where the 30th and current sitting governor of that 100-year-old pile of dirt, Keith Salminen, is coming at you, of course, solo for this rendition of the show. Donnie Knucklehead Hudson, unfortunately, was a last-minute cancellation today. Tad was supposed to be here. Still trying to figure out if I actually saw him wandering out around the neighborhood earlier, if I just hallucinated that whole situation. Again, Taddy, if that was you, my bad. Half awake, half asleep, had a bowl of medical research. Been a few days since I watered things out front, so I was kind of focused on that. So my bad if I screwed up and that was you. We'll make sure to get things correct with that, so that way you're here for whenever we do the next edition of the show on October the 9th. And Tito looking to eventually join us again at some point down in the future. Don't know exactly when the time frame is on that, because he's got some stuff he's trying to handle, and he's also in the midst of trying to get things resolved with getting the 100th anniversary Tightwad Hill shirts done as well. But obviously, when I hear from him, we'll let you know whenever he joins us here at the studio, or maybe we'll just surprise you and have him pop up on one of the recording sessions that we sometimes do for the shows up on Tightwad Hill at games, when it looks like it's going to be a minute before any of the other hosts join me here. But yep, just me, just this guy coming at you here from Dub 6 Studios, the broadcasting HQ of both the Bear Raid and A's Fan Radio, located, of course, in the Diamond District of Oakland, California. What, y'all thought we did this on Tightwad Hill? I don't got the money to get to have internet installed up there. It'd be dope if I can do that, but yeah. It'd be real nice. Maybe one day we can do something live from up there, but I got to figure out what Wi-Fi system to hack into, and if I really want to lug all the equipment and a generator up to that damn pile of dirt at some point. But I definitely, I got to talk with the guys about it at some point. I do definitely kind of like what myself and the guys at A's Fan Radio have done over the years, is eventually start doing this podcast on locations as well, and that's either maybe find a permanent fixed spot to do the show at. Maybe we just bar hop around Berkeley every show. I got to sit down with the guys, get that figured out, and get some locations figured out. Had a couple locations that, I was toying with, but one of those locations is permanently closed now, even though we thought it was going to open back up in May, and then nothing happened with that. And I'd have to get with Taddy and chit-chat with the guys over at Laval's to maybe see something about there. But, yeah, keep your eyes and ears open. We do eventually want to start taking the Bear Raid on location. When that will be, don't know, but just keep your eyes and ears open. As soon as we get something with that figured out, I'll make sure to let you all know about that. All righty, on that note, let's go ahead and continue with recapping what the various Cal athletic programs have been up to since the fall semester got underway, and of course what those programs have on tap between technically tomorrow and when we come at you again on October the 9th. Next sport that we'll be taking a look at will be the Cal cross country program. Cross country program, of course, for both the men and the women. Their season beginning on September the 1st as part of the USF Invitational over at San Francisco, California, at a track located at Golden Gate Park, apparently it looks like. The men would finish second in that USF Invitational. The women would finish in third place. So pretty high finishes for the Cal men's and women's cross country team on September the 1st in the USF Invitational. September the 22nd is the most recent thing that's gone down for the cross country program. So only two meets for them so far that they've been involved in, and kind of spread out over a couple of weeks as they, of course, took part in the Bill Dillinger Invitational. I wonder if Bill Dillinger is related to Taddy Dillinger III. I have to ask him about that the next time I talk to him. That, of course, took place on September the 22nd in Springfield, Oregon at the Pine Ridge Golf Club. The Cal men's cross-country team would finish in 5th place in that invitational, while the women's side would finish in 7th place. And that's it. It's going to actually be a while until the cross-country team does anything again. They actually don't have another meet go down until after the next show. So we'll go ahead and save y'all an update on finding out what's going on with the next meet for Cal cross country when we do the next show on October the 9th. No record up there at this point in time so far for the Cal cross country program. I guess they don't count win-losses for that, even though it has it up there. Maybe that's just a setup that they have as a result of things with all the programs and whatnot over there. But yeah, 2 meets so far for Cal cross country here in 2023. All right, let's move to the pool and find out what Cal men's water polo has been up to start things with their 2023 season. And just like with everybody else, take a look at what they have on tap between now and October the 9th. Anyway, they began their season by partaking in the Triton Invitational, which went down at the Canyon View Aquatic Center in San Diego, California. Cal men's water polo would begin things in that tournament against Pomona Pritzker on September the 2nd and defeat them in that match by a final score of 19-6. They would then also that same September the 2nd take on number 11th ranked UC San Diego and defeat them by a final score of 20-5. On September the 3rd, they would take on then-ranked 7th UC Santa Barbara and defeat them by a final of 16-10. Their second matchup of that September the 3rd Sunday, and also their final match that was part of the Triton Invitational, was against Cal State Fullerton, and the Cal men's water polo program won that match as well by a final score of 17-7. The winning ways would just keep on going for men's water polo after that. September the 4th, which was a Monday, would see them down 20th ranked Navy in Coronado, California by a final of 18-6. They would then take down number 2 ranked USC on September the 9th in LA by a final score of 12-5. They would then defeat number 8 Pepperdine 10-9 in overtime down in Malibu. They would continue on the winning ways against UC Davis, who at the time was ranked 11th when those two sides faced off on September the 15th. Cal men's water polo winning that matchup against UC Davis by a final of 11-9 in Davis, California. They would then beat 7th ranked University of the Pacific in Stockton on September the 17th by a final score of 17-18. The overnight overnight MPSF Invitational would again just see nothing but wins dripping from the men's water polo program. They would defeat Witter on September the 22nd by a final of 23-3 in a tournament that, of course, was being played in Los Angeles. They would defeat number 11 Long Beach State on September the 23rd by a final of 10-6. And then in their final matchup of the day on September the 23rd, as they would play 2 matches, winning the first against Long Beach State. They would then take on Stanford in the back match of those matches on that day and defeat number 4 ranked Stanford on the 23rd, 18-17, in a match that would go 4 overtimes down there in LA. They would finally take their first loss of their 2023 season against second-ranked UCLA on September the 24th, losing that match by a final score of 12-10. Upcoming matches for Cal men's water polo between now and the next edition of the Bear Raid. They have 2 matches on tap between now and then. An October the 7th matchup against UCLA at the Spiker Aquatic Center in Berkeley, California. Start time for that is to be announced, and they will also take on USC the following day on October the 8th at a match that will also take place at the Spiker Aquatics Complex in Berkeley, California. Start time for that to be announced as well. So far, Cal men's water polo is 12-1 here in the 2023 season. They're 1-0 in conference play. They're on a 1-match loss streak at this point in time. They're 0-0 so far at Spikers. They have yet to play the first match there. That, of course, will change when the 7th rolls around. They're 5-0 away from Berkeley so far. And in neutral site matches, Cal men's water polo is 7-1. Alrighty, let's move from the water to the golf links and see what the golf programs have been up to so far here in 2023. We'll begin with men's golf, as they have been going a little bit longer than the women's golf program has so far this year. I want to say the Cal women's golf program actually just started within the last week, and had the show happen when we originally were planning on doing it, we would have been previewing those programs, but obviously that isn't the case right now. These are programs that we going to be checking up on that have gotten underway so far. So yeah, first on the men's side of things with the golf links, we begin things with the Marquette Intercollegiate tournament that the Cal men's golf team partook in. That tournament began on September the 3rd. They would finish 4th on the first day of play, finish in 2nd on the second day of play, which was September the 4th. And then, of course, on the final day of that tournament, Cal men's golf would finish the tournament in 2nd place. After that, they would partake in the Husky Invitational, which would go down in Washington from the 18th through the 19th. They would finish up the first day of that tournament in 5th, and then would finish up the tournament overall in a tie for 3rd. Following that would be the big match, which of course is the most, or actually that's the most recent upcoming match for Cal men's golf. So far they've only had 5 matches go down, and they will have 2 go down between now and the next time we come at you here on the Bear Raid. The first of those 2, of course, being the big match between Cal men's golf and Stanford men's golf, going down at Woodside, California at the Menlo Country Club at 12 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. And then the day of the next edition of the Bear Raid, they will begin the first day of the Alistair McKenzie Invitational at the Meadow Club in Fairfax, California. That, of course, will be on Monday, October the 9th. And they don't have win-loss records up here for the golf program. So that's what the men's golf program's been up to so far, what they have on tap next. Let's go ahead and check in on what the Lady Golden Bears golf program has done so far. Again, I want to say they just recently got underway here on their end of things, and again had the show happen when it was originally supposed to, which I think was back on September the 10th was when the show was originally supposed to take place, because this should have actually been show number 35 tonight, but that ended up not being the bloody case at all. But obviously, Cal women's golf has started up since then, and wow, you punks, you would not have the match results up here for Cal women's golf. Well, you do have the recap screens, but we'll definitely have to, I guess, do more diligence and look that up and actually write that down next time. So here's the matches that have gone down so far for Cal women's golf. They began the year at the Dick McGuire Invitational that went down from September 11th to September the 12th out in Albuquerque, New Mexico. After that, the 25th and the 26th never mind. Let's actually hear, you know what, screw it. Let's go ahead and pull up a recap real quick to see how things played out in that tournament. So, yeah, most recent match, so far they've only had 1 match go down, or 2 days worth of golf matches go down. I guess you can say that Dick McGuire Invitational that's against taking place actually at a golf course, UNNM Championship Golf Course. So that's at the University of New Mexico, by the way. Just as always, waiting here for things to load. Let's see here. And out of 16 teams that I guess were in the field, Cal finished sixth in the rounds 2 and 3 of that tournament. So, hey, good job by the Golden Bears to, I guess, begin things here. Anyway, upcoming match play for Cal women's golf. Sorry, as I kind of zoned out there for a second. Next round of matches on the links for Cal women's golf is as follows. You have the Molly College Gate Invitational, which will be going down at Seaside, California on September the 25th, which is a Monday, and of course September the 26th, which is a Tuesday. Following that will be the women's version of the big match against Stanford on Thursday, September the 28th. Just like on the men's side of things, that will also be taking place over at Woodside, California at the Menlo Country Club at 12 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. After that, they will, of course, partake in the Ron Moore Intercollege Gate at Highlands Ranch, Colorado, and that tournament will go down from October the 6th through the day before the next edition of the Bear Raid on October the 8th. Whew, man, got through that segment a little bit quicker than I actually thought we were going to end up doing, and at the pace we're going, maybe we actually will wrap this up between an hour and a half and 2 hours. But hey, you never know. It obviously depends on what's going down with the last batch of sports that we have on tap. And yep, final break of the night, already smacking y'all upside the heads here on show number 34 of the Bear Raid presented by Tightwad Hill. We got four, let's see here, and hold on, 1, 2, 3, yeah, four more sports to look at here. A couple that are that have already been underway, and I want to say five. 3 that have gotten underway so far, and 2 that have yet to get underway. So 5 more sports left to discuss here before the evening is over with. And, of course, also my final thoughts of the night before we wrap things up here and get you all on out for the evening. So, hey, go enjoy a quick little breather, but don't go anywhere because we're going to be right back at you here in a bit after the final break of the night here on show number 34 of the Bear Raid presented by Tightwad Hill. All right, ladies and gentlemen, fellow Tightwads, fellow Cal fans, fellow bugs, insects, aliens, cryptids that are somehow staying out of the eyes and ears of human knowledge, whatever the hell you happen to be. Maybe you're even an extraterrestrial making your way through the solar system that somehow picked up this broadcast one way or another. Don't know why you'd be an ET interested in Cal athletics, but if you are for some reason, welcome back as we get ready to do the final segment here on tonight's edition of the Bear Raid presented by Tightwad Hill, the 34th edition of the show since it began doing Cal Talk from the fans' point of view back in November of 2020. It is the 30th and current sitting governor of Tightwad, Keith Salminen, getting ready to bring y'all home for the night and been coming at you solo for this entire edition of the show. As, of course, Donnie Knucklehead Hudson was an unfortunate last-minute cancellation this morning. Otherwise, he would have been here doing the show with me, and we would have been done with this podcast probably around about 4 o'clock in the afternoon today. But since I ended up hosting it solo, that's why we started this shindig at 8 p.m., though I'm kind of having a little bit of guilt right now because I'm starting to really feel that I did see 29th and previous governor of Tightwad Hill, Tad Dillinger III, roaming up and down the neighborhood maybe earlier when I was outside watering the front garden and whatnot. So, again, if that was you, Taddy, my bad. I fucked up. You can chastise me about that when we're at the Cal ASU game this upcoming Saturday, and we'll just make sure to get on the correct page and whatnot, so that way we're on the same page for when you make your way over here again for the next edition of the show on October the 9th. On that note, let's go ahead and get ready to take a look at the final 5 Cal athletic programs that we'll be taking a look at here on tonight's edition of the show. 3 programs that have already gotten underway with their things, and 2 that will be getting ready to start up action here in the coming days between now and the next edition of the show on October the 9th. We begin things here in this final segment of tonight's show with the men's tennis program at the University of California. They began their season in the Battle of the Bay qualifier, which started on September the 15th. Cal had 3 duos reach the double quarterfinals when that first day of the tournament began. September the 16th, which was a Saturday, would see the Battle of the Bay qualifier continue, as you would see the Bears reach the double finals during that day of matches, with all these, of course, taking place at the Hellman Tennis Complex there in Berkeley, California. The final day of the Battle of the Bay quarterfinals, of course, taking place on Sunday, September the 17th, and Chen qualified for the BITB Classic, which, of course, is the Battle in the Bay Classic. I guess I said Battle of the Bay, Battle in the Bay Classic. And, of course, that final day of that qualifier taking place in Berkeley as well. The actual tournament itself, the Battle in the Bay Classic, taking place in San Francisco starting on Thursday, September the 21st, and hosted, of course, by the University of California. The Bears would post 3 wins in the first day of the Classic on the 21st of September. Day 2, which, of course, would go down on Friday, September the 22nd, would see the Bears reach doubles in the semifinals. And on the 23rd of September, which was day 3 of the tournament, the Bears unfortunately would fall in the doubles semifinals, and looks like they would not have much of anything to celebrate in the final day of the tournament, which is their most recent match day stuff that went down, which was the final day of the Battle in the Bay Classic on Sunday, September the 24th. Upcoming play for Cal men's tennis between now and the next time we come at you here on the Bear Raid presented by Tightwad Hill. On October the 9th, they got a couple things that they're going to be partaking in. One of those being the Aggies Invitational, which will begin on Friday, September the 29th, and will run through Sunday, October the 1st. Those will be all-day affairs during those 3 days at the Maria Welsh Tennis Center in Davis, California. You will also have the ITA All-American Championships going down from September the 30th through October the 8th. That, of course, is the day before the next edition of the Bear Raid, and all of those matches that are a part of that ITA All-American Championship, which, again, is the 30th of September through October the 8th. All of those are being played out in the Michael D. Case Tennis Center in Tulsa, Oklahoma. You will also have the ITA Northwest Regional Championship going down October the 5th through October the 9th. And those are slated to take place at the Hallman Tennis Complex out here in Berkeley, California. So a whole bunch of tennis action going down on the men's side of things between now and the day of the next edition of the Bear Raid. Let's go ahead and head back into the pool. Again, we did some pool talk earlier, checking in with what the men's water polo program has been up to. Let's go ahead and go back into the pool again, as we will be checking in on things with the swim and dive programs for the University of California. The women's swim and dive program kicking off things first between the 2 water programs over there at the University of California. Just waiting for things to load over here on my end. They, of course, had their first set of matches go down on Friday, September the 22nd. That was the Queen of the Pool matchup, and that took place at St. Louis Obispo, California, at the Anderson Aquatic Center. But they don't have a result up here for what ended up going down in that. So, okay. Let's see here. Let me pull up the news real quick on the swimming and dive section and maybe see if they got something up there. Damn it, I knew this was going to happen. I knew that these putos were going to end up screwing up things. Come on, CalBears.com admin. You can't put up the results for what ended up going on that day? Can't help make the job a little bit easier here for yours truly. Honestly, what probably would make things a lot easier is if any of you out there that are either Cal fans or alumni from this or any of the other sports programs that we struggle with a little bit want to come in again, help us out and do a better job of explaining, then hit us up on our various social media pages. Let's see here. The Bears, all it just says is the Bears open season at Queen of the Pool, and swimmers competed in 5 things to determine the winner, and just they don't got anything listed up with that. So, man, hopefully y'all fix that for the next time we take a look at the Cal Women's Swim and Dive program, and they don't have a meetup for a while. So the next time they'll be previewing a match meetup for the women's swim and dive program. That won't come until the next edition of the show on October the 9th. We will stay in the pool, though, and stick with swimming and diving. Switching, though, obviously over to the men's swim and dive program. And they took part in the King of the Pool at the Anderson Aquatic Center down there in St. Louis Obispo. But they, again, same thing with the women's. They don't have any sort of results up here. So what is it? Did that not count? Was that like an exhibition set? Is that why you don't have anything up there? I don't know. And just like with the women, they don't have anything going on again until October the 14th, so there's no point of checking in and previewing things with that until the next edition of the Bear Raid. So, damn, so much for that. Swim and dive on both sides going down, but for some reason, CalBears.com not having anything result-wise posted up on the schedule. So, hey, if the CalBears.com admin happens to be watching tonight's show, wake the hell up and start putting the results up there for the swim and dive programs, so that way I can have them on here the next time we do the show. Or, again, if any of you out there that follow those programs know stuff better than I do, you can always chime in on that. Anywho, let's go ahead and take a look at the 2 programs that have not gotten underway yet at this point in time, but will have been underway by the time we come at you here again on the Bear Raid. The first of those 2 will be the women's tennis program. We started off this final segment of tonight's show checking in on what the men's tennis program has been up to so far. The women's tennis program will be getting underway on September the 29th and will begin their season taking part in the Cal Fall Invitational, which will be played from September the 29th through October the 1st at the Hellman Tennis Complex and Channing Tennis Courts in Berkeley, California. Start time for those 3 days full of matches has not yet been announced, but that, of course, that tournament begins in about 4 days, so CalBears.com may want to hurry up and update things on that. Other tennis action that'll be going down for the women's program between now and the next time that the Bear Raid goes down as well is the Cal Women's Tennis Program will be taking part in the ITA All-American Championship at Cary Tennis Park in Cary, North Carolina. That will be going down from September the 30th through October the 8th. After that, they will also have on the schedule here the ITA Northwestern Regional Championship. Oh, wait, no, that's after. That's after the next time we do our show. Never mind, getting a little too far ahead of myself right there. So that's what they have on tap so far is the Cal Fall Invitational from the 29th of September through October the 1st, and the ITA All-American Championship that will be going down from September the 30th through October the 8th. That's what Cal Women's Tennis has on tap between now and the next edition of the show. And the final sports program that we'll be checking in on here tonight that will have stuff going on by the time we come at you here again on the show. You're probably sitting there thinking, what, softball? Yeah, apparently I guess Cal softball does have a fall schedule. I actually remember them having a fall schedule up last year, roughly around this time. Though hopefully, unlike last year, maybe y'all will actually put what the scores are up for these games, because I remember that was, again, one of the complaints I had last year was when they apparently had a fall schedule up, and just like with a couple of these other programs, whoever admins the Cal Bears website forgot to put up some recaps and finals for some of this stuff. But yeah, Cal softball does have a 2023 fall schedule up, and here's what they will be up to when we come at you again. And they only have one game on the docket between now and when the next edition of the Bear Raid goes down, and then they have a whole bunch of things after that. But the one game that Cal softball has on the schedule between now and the next edition of the Bear Raid is a 10 innings planned scheduled game against College of San Mateo on Sunday, October the 8th. That game will have a first pitch of 12 p.m. Pacific Standard Time at Levine Freaky Field, which is, of course, up above California Memorial Stadium, just past the Witter Rugby Field. And basically, it's right in between Witter Rugby Field and a pool that's up there. So if you want to go and check that out, Cal Fall Softball going Cal Softball Fall action beginning on October the 8th with a matchup against College of San Mateo at 12 p.m. Pacific Standard Time up there again at Levine Freaky Field in Berkeley, California. They have a whole bunch of games after that, but again, that matchup on October the 8th is the most recent contest will be going down for them between now and the next edition of the show. And speaking of which, that means, hey, we are done with all the athletic talk for the night here on this edition of the Bear Raid, which of course means, as always, for the latest information pertaining to the Bear Raid presented by Tightwad Hill, be sure to check things out and like us at facebook.com/TightwadHillOfficial. Follow the Tightwad Hill Madness on Twitter, X. I don't know what any of you fellow Tightwads and Cal fans out there call it. Me personally, I still call it the Bird app. It's Twitter in my eyes, even if Muskrat's continuing to run the damn thing into the ground. So be sure to follow us on Twitter at TightwadHill23. Be sure to check out the webpage that is currently serving as a temporary homepage for the Bear Raid until I eventually can get a Tightwad Hill website back up and running again. Until then, you can find info for the Bear Raid over at aesfanradio.com/the Bear Raid presented by Tightwad Hill. Just like with this show you're watching here tonight, all of the live broadcasts of the Bear Raid come down and take place here on twitch.tv/aesfanradio. And of course, if you happen to miss an edition to the show and want to get caught up on it, or you want to even go back and watch some of the other past shows that we have done just to get a refresher or just to see how things have evolved since this bad boy started running back in November of 2020, be sure to check out past editions of the Bear Raid and more over on A's Fan Radio's YouTube channel at youtube.com/A'sFanRadio. As always, I want to thank you all out there for tuning in to this Cal Fan produced podcast that will continue to, of course, do its best as always to continue on a legacy and tradition started by our sister podcast of over at A's Fan Radio, which stretches back all the way to 2003. Going to be really unfortunate if our sister podcast ends up having to close up shop as a result of obvious things going on over in the world of the Oakland Athletics. But even if that does end up being the case, I feel very confident and comfortable with being able to carry on that tradition over here. Definitely love the gang of misfits that I have as my castmates over here. Though it would be nice if we can start, working out things and get together and do things a little bit more consistently. But as we all know, life can get in the way and kind of throw a monkey wrench into things. So if for a lot of the times going forward, the only way to have all four hosts from this show is by recording stuff up on Tightwad Hill, or maybe we set up somewhere to meet ahead of time and record some materials, then hey, it is what it is. And I'm even trying to convince my tag team partner over on A's Fan Radio, the main man, the boss man, who I've of course have been known as half of the dynamic duo with over there on AFR for 10 years. So basically, half of the existence of our sister podcast, I've been tag teaming with my man, the boss man, who used to sit up on Tightwad Hill before I started going up there. He stopped going up to Tightwad Hill about a year or two before I started showing up because just he got fed up with how Homo ran the program into the ground. It was like, screw this, I'm out. He is planning on getting up to Tightwad Hill, though, at some point before the season's over with, mainly, of course, with it being the final year of the Pac-12. So maybe we get a boss man cameo through the powers of recording technology, or maybe if I can work my magic, if AFR does end up going under because of the possible relocation of the team, when that goes down, maybe I can somehow get something done to have the dynamic duo come over here. One way or another, we do, as always, thank you all for the ongoing support, checking us out here. It was really dope, by the way, to have an Auburn fan come up to me on Tightwad Hill during the home opener back on the 9th that apparently checked out the previous edition of the Bear Raid that Donnie and I did back on August the 27th, and said he liked what he saw. So I'm guessing maybe he not only watched that, maybe he went back and checked out a couple of the other podcasts we did. Because it was funny when he came up to me, he's like, hey, I checked out your show and I loved it. And I had to look at it. I was like, hold on, which one, the Cal podcast or the A's podcast? Because, obviously, again, I do stuff with both this one and AFR. But he's like, yeah, it was the Cal one, man. I loved what you and Donnie did. You guys were very knowledgeable. I love how y'all are fans doing it. But, giving that kind of professional broadcasting take on it. So, hey, accomplishing things with this show that me and my merry bands of misfits over on AFR accomplished starting many years ago, which is, hey, we're starting to have folks that follow the other college programs out and around the country checking out this show. So, hey, Cal fans or, hell, Auburn fans, regardless who you're a fan of, hey, we even got at least one Stanford fan that tunes in this show every now and then. So there are people other than Cal fans that check this out. So, hey, regardless if you are a fan of Cal athletics or you just like to check in because you like hearing what we discuss or you want to hear us bitch and moan and whine when Cal athletics ends up being lovable losers, hey, we appreciate you and love you and thank you for giving us the time of day to check out and hear us ramble about Cal athletics over here on the Bear Raid. On that note, on behalf of my fellow cast members, I am the 30th and current sitting governor of Tightwad Hill, Keith Salminen. Thank you all again for tuning in to tonight's edition of TBR. Y'all take care and enjoy what is left of your Sunday night. The views and opinions of our cast, our guests, and our listeners are in no way, shape, or form affiliated with the University of California, the Pac-12, the future home of Cal athletics at the ACC, or the NCAA. Again, thank you all, fellow Tightwads, fellow Cal fans, for joining us this evening. Take care. We'll see you again in 2 weeks for the next edition of the show. And until we come back at you on October the 9th, take care, stay blue, stay gold, and of course, roll on, you Bears! Take care, everybody. We will see you in 2 weeks for the next edition of the Bear Raid on October the 9th.